Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I prefer someone else does.
Show what you're made of. Yeah. Yeah.
Stay away from people if you can't ride a horse, you moron.
Yeah. Yeah.
God save you. God be with you. Good luck then.
Yeah.
Buy my potions made from magical herbs plucked from the flanks of Mount Olympus.
Well, well, who have we here?
Ah, the prodigal son returns. I knew you'd come back to me one day.
Let me guess, you saw it in a dream?
I knew you were going to say that.
But I had a divine revelation. That next time I won't be around to pull you out of the shit.
Oh, well, I am sorry. But these things are sent to try our fortitude in the face of adversity.
I'd like to try your fortitude. So what is it you want from me now?
Ah, my dear apprentice, everything's gone to the devil. I'm living from hand to mouth, sleeping on straw, and the local peasants won't buy from me. They say they don't trust me, as if I were some kind of charlatan. Can you believe it? Does this look to you like the face of a swindler? I'm an honest trader in sacred goods. whose only concern is the welfare of troubled souls.
A regular Good Samaritan.
And any time now the slanderous gossip will spread here from Sassau. I should leave before things get worse. But I can't go anywhere until I've made a bit of coin. So what's needed is to give the locals a bit of encouragement, to open their hearts and purses.
I'm not going to go around beating people for you.
What do you take me for? I wouldn't hurt a fly. Violence is for the dull-witted. We must gently demonstrate to them the necessity of buying my remedies. For example, to ward off a revenant.
Revenant? What revenant?
The dead, returned from the grave. A corpse that the soul is unable to depart from, which wanders among the living, filled with rage at its wretched fate.
Yeah, I saw something like that once. But it was just some drunk going home from the tavern after losing all his money at dice.
Don't make light of such things. Now tell me, do you know how to deal with a revenant?
A wooden stake through the heart?
That's more a remedy for vampires and other bloodsuckers. You are my trained apprentice, but the ignorant villager is entirely at a loss how to deal with such dark forces. It is our sacred duty to prepare them for such threats.
And how do you propose to do that?
Well, they're all doubting Thomases. They need proof. We'll need a grave, an empty grave that we can use. There's one along the way to Sassau, but it's got one minor shortcoming.
What's that?
Well, it's not entirely empty.
Not entirely? What does that mean?
You have to dig it up first.
Why this particular grave?
The locals don't like to talk about it, so it's surely got some sinister past behind it. And in places like that, revenants sprout up like mushrooms after rain.
Well, if that's how it is, we could open old wounds. That could easily set people against us. Again.
Then it would be best if no one could connect us to it, wouldn't it?
But that's a sin.
Refusing to help the needy is also a sin. I haven't had a decent meal for 40 days and 40 nights.
My conscience is clear where your stomach is concerned. Disturbing a grave is a grave sin.
The grave is not in hallowed ground, so that's hardly worth one Lord's Prayer in penance. I asked a priest once, just out of curiosity.
I'll need a spade then.
Yes, dig it up and remove the remains, leaving no trace.
And what am I to do with the remains?
Keep them. Human remains are always handy to have around.
Great. And how do we spread the word of this revenant?
There's a gossip in every village. Here, too, a woman who'll spread news quicker than a dozen messengers on the fastest steeds.
Where does this woman live?
The last house on the left, on the road to Sassau. She was the first person I met here, and by the time I reached the village green, I already had a mob looking suspiciously at me. The rumor-mongering fishwife.
And what am I to tell this gossip?
All you have to do is casually mention the empty grave, and before evening, I'll wager the whole village will know about it.
And that's all?
Not quite. You should ask her who was buried there. So we've got a story to work with.
So, dig up the grave, talk to the gossip.
And the remains. Don't forget to remove them. Otherwise, no one will believe in the revenant.
I might have known any task for Capon would turn into some insane escapade. Grave robbing. Jesus.
in the temple of Jerusalem.
Yeah.
What was that noise?
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Who's there?
God be with you, good wife. Has something happened here?
Heavens no. It's quiet here, unlike some other places.
And what about that empty grave?
What empty grave would that be now?
The one beyond the village, alongside the road to Sasau. Just by the river, on the Pine Headland.
How would you know it's empty? Unless it was dug up.
Oh, it's dug up, all right. Freshly. And empty. I saw it with my own 2 eyes.
Lord in heaven, what in the name of...
How come it's not in hallowed ground, anyway? Only unrepentant sinners are buried like that. Usually.
I don't like to say. It's an old wound that's best forgotten.
Whose grave is it?
Well, once a long time ago there was a young charcoal burner living here with his wife. There was always a lot of charcoal burners here, but this fellow worked alone. That's not an easy job for one man.
Well, no one wanted to work with him, or what?
Ah, he was a hard-headed fellow who always wanted to take care of his family himself.
Well, I can understand that. It's always better to work for yourself than break your back for someone else.
His wife was expecting, though no one knew it yet. And he wasn't doing well at all. Soon enough, they had nothing to eat. And so he took to thieving.
Well, I can understand him. To watch your family suffer like that. What could he do when they were going hungry?
If we'd known how badly off they was, folk would have helped out. But he kept his troubles to himself.
And did he get caught?
Well, at first it was just a few eggs going missing from people's hen coops. But then it was anything that wasn't nailed down. And in the end, they caught him.
And I suppose he was harshly punished for it.
Even then he didn't let on why he was doing it. They whipped the skin off his back and banished him from Ledeckschko.
So justice was done then?
It wasn't enough for some folk. When the butcher found out he'd never get any compensation, he wanted them to chop off the charcoal burner's hands. If the bailiff hadn't talked sense into him, he'd have done it himself with his cleaver.
Well, he got off lightly enough then.
And in the end, he got what was coming to him, and more.
The butcher caught up with him?
No. It was the mills of God turning slowly but surely. His wife bled to death in childbirth, and the child died with her.
I'm sorry to hear that. But at least he knew they were gone to a better place.
True, lad.
Nothing could have been done to save them.
There was no one there. He had no one who would care for his wife. They say on that day he parted ways with God forever, and he turned his back on the village too. I reckon he never forgave himself, nor us either.
The Lord moves in mysterious ways. But how did he end up?
Don't ask me that, lad. I beg you.
Sorry, good wife. Let's leave it be.
Thanks, lad.
I know who was buried in that grave. A young charcoal burner.
So begins the tragic tale of the young charcoal burner who became entangled with the devil himself.
Oh, don't start. What devil? I'm trying to tell you. He was from Ledeckschko. He was trying to eke out a living for himself and his wife, but he couldn't manage. When she fell pregnant, he took to stealing.
Pride drove him from the straight and narrow path, and soon he sold his soul to the devil to fill his stomach.
They caught him and punished him, but some of the people he'd robbed didn't think it was enough. Then when his wife died in childbirth, and the child too, he blamed everyone for it. Even God, apparently.
But when the time came to pay his debt to hell, the devil had no use for his soul, and took his wife and child instead. The charcoal burner cursed God, who struck him down in righteous vengeance. But the dead man's soul never left his body. He came back as a revenant to vent his rage at God and men and take vengeance on the living.
Jesus, did you listen to what I said at all?
Sorry, did you say something?
Well, never mind. What do you want me to do with it?
Well, the question is, what would the revenant do to get revenge on the villagers? Well, apprentice?
He was stealing food from people, right? So, supposing he started again.
We should steal from people? Disgraceful. Have you no shame?
Maybe just a few eggs from hen coops, like the gossip mentioned.
Well, that wouldn't be too serious a sin. Will they put it down to the revenant, though?
They would, if I put some charcoal there instead.
And their nourishment he turned into ash.
The gossip mentioned the butcher. It seems he was infuriated that the charcoal burner's punishment was too lenient.
And the revenant spoiled their meat with his malign touch.
How's that?
Spoiled meat is a classic example of a revenant's power.
I thought it was the work of bad butchers.
That too, sometimes.
So, I should switch the good meat for bad at the butcher's. What about the butcher woman?
What about her?
Well, her conscience is still troubled on account of her man, and she feels haunted. This won't help her much.
What's that got to do with you?
Well, I want to help her.
All right, if you can find some other solution, you don't have to switch the meat. But I wouldn't worry about her. But make sure it's the same kind of meat. Not even a revenant will turn a cow into a chicken.
What about his wife and child? No doubt he'd want to avenge their death.
Well, how did they die?
In childbirth.
And when his love turned to rage, the water turned to blood. Nothing too original. But it's tried and tested. If you do it at the baths, everyone will hear of it.
How am I supposed to do that? It might be a bit suspicious if I'm seen walking around with a pail of blood.
No problem. There's a certain potion that will do the trick easily.
He cursed God. That's very serious.
What is it that most brings God to mind?
They don't have a church there. But everyone will have a rosary. I can't think of anything else.
That's it! If folks start losing their rosaries, they'll have sleepless nights over it.
You want me to steal rosaries? But that's...
Or just exchange them.
For what?
For nothing.
Great.
So, switch eggs for charcoal, switch the meat, color the water in the baths, and switch the rosaries. That ought to do it. I hope so. Of course, if you come up with anything else, don't let me hold you back. Talking to people might give you ideas. Traders, the bailiff.
Well, what if someone sees me in the act?
They mustn't. Otherwise, it'll end up like Sasau all over again. Don't draw attention to yourself, or they'll put two and two together.
Sure. I'll keep my head down. And how will I know if I've succeeded? I doubt it'll be announced on the market square.
I'll be the first to know. They'll come running to me for a remedy, like hens at feeding time. Off you go and raise hell.
But whatever he did, don't you think he deserves some peace?
Dear Henry, after all the poor wretch went through, I'd say he's beyond any peace.
Well, he certainly won't have any as long as I'm carrying his bones around with me.
Ah, but you know who those remains could help.
Help? Who? How?
Me, of course. And I'd pay you a nice price for a revenant's bones.
But there is no revenant.
Not yet. What do you say?
All right. I'll sell them to you.
Splendid. Revenant bones. They'll be very useful indeed. Farewell. Wine squeezed from grapes, cultivated from a rose bush.
Show yourself. Who's there? Answer me.
Salt sprinkled with the bloody tears of St. James Madonna. Powder made of the bone.
My humble greetings. How may I help you?
I'd like to order something here.
Uh-huh.
Not at all.
And what do you
Been
want?
here several times. Well, I suppose I should be flattered it wasn't my face you were looking at.
I'll certainly need a physician to treat my wounds. Then a hot bath and laundering my clothes.
I'm sure you'll be extremely satisfied. Good luck, then.
What will it be? It came
What?
from over here.
What's going on out there? Who's there?
Imagined it.
What was that?
Hell was that?
Mother of God!
What is it you want here?
Did you find it in the end?
Crossbow.
chickens. That should be no problem. There were chickens, for sure. Lamb. And I'll need lots of it if I'm to switch it all. Hang on, this is venison from roe deer. No wonder it's under lock and key.
What's going on there? Who's there?
Have you lost some? What are you doing here? What's the matter with you?
good fella. That's my boy. Look what I've got for you. You'll love this.
I'm glad to see you. Take care.
So, how am I doing so far?
Good work, Henry. The whole village is shaking in its boots. Soon people won't step outside the door without saying 3 Hail Marys.
Ugh, I'm glad to hear it. I'm beginning to feel haunted myself.
No one in Ledechko would eat a single egg, even if they had any, because all the hens are hexed.
Well, at least they've got fuel for their fires.
Half the village is without rosaries. Someone even wanted to buy one from me.
And did you sell it?
I don't trade in such banal goods. But I sold him a cat's paw.
I didn't know a cat's paw was good for warding off revenants.
Henry, all the goods I have are good for warding off revenants. Everyone is talking about how all the butcher's meat went off after being touched by the hand of evil.
What, does this look like the hand of evil to you?
The baths are closed. No one will tell you why, but everyone is clearly frightened.
So, the job is done, eh?
Not quite.
But you just said the whole village is shaking with fear.
The whole village, but for one individual.
Well, surely that doesn't matter.
That's what I thought too. Only this fellow is giving everyone the benefit of his wisdom. He needs shaking up before he undoes your good work.
But if he's not been scared yet, what more can I do to frighten him?
Well, when he's not hanging around here ruining my trade, he's in the tavern boasting that he'd happily sleep by that empty grave to prove there's no revenant.
Yeah, I bet he would.
Exactly. He just needs a little persuasion. And once he's there, make it the most terrifying night of his life.
Well, what are we waiting for then?
It's best to be well prepared. You ought to find out something about him, so there's no surprises.
The gossip woman?
Naturally. And Henry, before we get to that grave, you can still try and come up with more ways to frighten the villagers. The more terrified they are, the more groschen there'll be in it for me. For us, that is. Goodbye.
Jesus Christ be praised. How may I serve you?
Good wife.
You're still here, lad? I thought you'd have fled by now.
Fled? Why on earth would I do that?
Because there's a revenant on the prowl. The whole village is talking about it, and everyone is terrified.
Ah, that. But I heard there's one brave lad who's not afraid.
You mean Felix?
Well, I don't know what his name is, but But he's always arguing in the tavern that there's no revenant.
That's him. The fool doesn't believe what's going on under his own nose. He hasn't the sense he was born with.
Is he brave or just stupid? Surely he's afraid of something.
I couldn't tell you. But if he's to be believed, he doesn't fear the devil himself.
And do you believe him?
Well, it's true he never seems bothered by anything. But then he's always with that other pair.
What pair?
2 mates of his.
But he was alone in the tavern.
Aye, they're not locals, but outside the village, wherever he goes, they go with him.
He even said he'd spend the night at the graveside, just to prove there's no revenant.
Aye, all talk and no action.
Who are these 2 fellas?
They're not bad lads, but they're no heroes, that's for sure.
How's that?
Them 2 have their fears, but then who doesn't?
What are they afraid of?
The first one wouldn't even go into the woods alone because he's afraid of wild animals.
Ah, is that so? I wonder why.
He got lost in the forest as a young lad, and he wasn't found till next morning. Shaking and pale as a ghost he was when they found him.
A village boy? Scared of the woods?
You're not very smart, are you?
Why'd you say that?
Oh, never mind.
What about the other one?
He's afraid of fire.
Why?
His own father burned him, God forgive him. As a young lad, he was playing with fire and nearly set fire to the house. So his pa taught him a lesson he wouldn't forget.
Poor lad. That's a terrible way to teach a child.
My words, exactly.
Ah, it's been an interesting chat. Thanks, good wife.
Take care.
Forgotten that brawl, have you? Well, I haven't. And don't think we'll forget about the other things you've done. Well, you won't forget this in a hurry, because it'll take a nice pile of coin to fix it.
Enough! What impertinence is this? Do you really want me to lose my temper?
But I was just... well, you misunderstood me. Sorry. You can go.
I'm glad to see you.
This brave fella, Felix his name is, if we can get him to spend the night at the grave, he won't be alone. Wherever he goes, he always has 2 mates tagging along.
Like he's afraid to be alone.
Could be.
So, if we could get him there alone, it shouldn't be too hard to scare him.
Well, maybe, maybe not. He claims he's not afraid of anything.
That's easy to say. I'm not so sure. Only, we have to get rid of the other 2. What do you know about them?
One of them is afraid of wild animals. Won't even go into the woods on his own.
I see. And the other one?
Well, he's afraid of fire, but I doubt an ordinary campfire would do the trick.
Well, we'll think of something. Anyway, you take care of the first one.
How, though?
Haven't you learned anything from me? Talk to a dog.
Of course. Why didn't I think of that? Any particular one, Master?
The most frightening one, of course.
And how am I supposed to recognise him? One looks the same as another.
By his bark, naturally. Can't you hear him? He'd scare the wits out of anyone.
That's a dog.
Either that or Satan in the guise of a beast.
All right. And what do I do with him?
Have a conversation with him and see if you can mimic his bark.
Yeah, great idea. People will think I'm barking mad.
Take care.
What was that? What's going on out there?
There's the good doggy. That's my boy. Look what I've got for you. You'll love this. Come on then. Bark. Oof, what a beast you are. All right, let's see. Ruff. Ruff. Again. Boo. Boo. Woo. Woo. Boo. 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 That's still not quite it. Yeah. No. Boo. 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 No. Boo. 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 That's it. And now I'm officially the village idiot.
So, how did you get on?
I found that mutt. Although from the noises it made, you'd hardly guess it was a dog.
So you've learned to bark?
I have, master.
So bark.
I never thought I'd stoop so low. Bow! Bow!
Perfect!
But what if it's not enough?
Ah, ye of little faith. Besides, can you think of any other way?
If we want to have him there on his own, I could always knock the other two out.
And what if he finds them unconscious?
I can always haul them off somewhere he won't find them.
Just make sure you don't botch it, Henry. It could easily turn very sour.
Don't worry. But what about the other fella?
Ah, yes, apprentice. You have the good fortune to witness a genius at work. Watch and learn. An oil lamp.
An oil lamp?
Precisely. Isn't it ingenious?
A marvellous invention, I grant you. But what do you want to do with it?
That's the clever part. I've hung a lamp like this over the revenant's grave. All you have to do is shoot it down. It'll fall on the grave and burst into flames.
Well, that could work. Only...
Only what?
How can you be sure I'll manage to shoot it down?
I believe in you, Henry. You're my apprentice, versed in the ways of our craft.
Right, I almost forgot.
Anyway, you can practice. The lamp is already hanging up. It just hasn't been lit yet.
Aye, I'll give it a go. And then what?
Then you just have to goad our Felix into putting his money where his mouth is.
But what if he doesn't fall for it?
Refusing would ruin his credibility. Go and see him. I'll bet you anything, if you present it right, he'll jump at it.
All right, I'll give it a try.
Good. Don't delay, though. Practice with the lamp first, if you like, or just go straight to him.
I've heard there's a revenant haunting these parts.
Ah, you don't want to believe those old wives' tales.
Well, it's not true, then?
Of course not. It's just a lot of fairy tales.
Oh, I don't know. Aren't you afraid?
Ha! What's there to be afraid of?
Well, that's easy to say.
What are you trying to say?
Nothing. It's just that, well, bold talk doesn't prove anything.
Are you saying I'm lying?
Well, can you prove your claims?
What?
Well, supposing you spent the night at that grave, like you say. That'd prove there's no revenant, wouldn't it?
You reckon so? I don't know.
That almost sounds like you're afraid.
Fuck you! If it'll shut you up, I'll gladly sleep by the grave.
That I would love to see. So when are you going to do it?
Just as soon as I can in the evening.
Right. And now you can... Shh! Quiet, Henry. You'll give us away.
Sorry. What's that
you're wearing?
What do you think it is?
I don't know, some new fashion?
It's my revenant costume, of course.
My apologies, Master, for not recognising it immediately.
You obviously still have a lot to learn.
So, did they come?
Yes, all three. They're camping at the top of the hill.
Right. I'll have time to get haunting then. Where do I start?
I'll leave that up to you. The main thing is to scare off the two cronies first. I'll take care of fearless Felix.
So I'll scare one off with the lamp?
Yes, just make sure no one sees you shooting.
And the other one with fearsome noises?
That will probably take a few attempts. Ideally, a bit at a time.
Let him work up an appetite for more, so to speak.
I couldn't have put it better myself. Just don't give yourself away.
I won't, but if they do happen to see me coming...
Then you'd better vanish like a wisp of smoke, or make some excuse.
And what will you be doing?
I'll wait somewhere out of the way for a while, and then I'll crash in. So make sure the other two are gone by then.
All right.
Where did that fire come from? Jesus, no. Not fire. No, 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 no. Jesus Christ.
That's a strange sound. A wolf? Some animal, I suppose. Can be a wolf. But what? That's a strange sound.
Christ, that noise again.
Some animal, I
What the?
suppose.
Probably nothing. Oh no, not again. No, please, God, no.
Noise.
I can't stand
What kind of
this.
animal makes a
No,
noise like
no,
that?
please, no. They're everywhere. They'll devour me. Jesus Christ, I've got to get away from here.
Roar! Roar!
What are you?
Roar! Roar!
I didn't do anything. Leave me alone.
Roar! 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 That was something.
How did you like that, eh?
Wonderful! I haven't had so much fun since I dressed up as the Pope.
Did you see him run? Like all the demons of hell were on their heels.
One was quite enough, evidently.
So what now?
Now I just wait for my customers to turn up. Come and see me tomorrow before noon, and you'll get your well-earned reward.
Yeah.
Ah, my dear apprentice, how happy I am to see you.
So, it all worked out then?
Like a dream. I didn't sell half as much in Sasau.
That's good news. Now, about that thing you promised me.
Your well-deserved reward, certainly. Here you have it. Here's something extra for you. I sold a lot more than I expected, and I think it's all thanks to you.
What will you do now?
I could go now. I've coin enough, but I'll wait a while before moving on.
Why? I thought you didn't want to stay too close to Sasau for long.
But what if you needed my help?
Indeed. How could I forget all you've done for me? Well, at least I'll know where to find you.